Welcome back, everyone. Tuesday evening here, October 15th, beautiful year of 2024. I am Kyle, the Fanatic Peterson, and welcome back to the Midwest Fanatic Podcast. We are doing our second update and second video here on the channel. If you haven't seen the first video, that will be posted here momentarily to the channel, and you'll be able to watch the first two. They're going through some last-second editing on the first video. So welcome back. If this is the second video you're watching, you are right on pace. And so today is our preview for Week 7, the week of October 14th, all the way from Monday to Sunday. We are looking forward to covering everything that's going on this coming up week in the NFL, some playoff baseball, as well as some tidbits with fantasy and betting, some interesting things going on there. And then, of course, we are going to start off the top of the show with just a recap of Week 6 in the NFL. What a wild week. It was not the way us Chiefs fans would have wanted them to go. Of course, the Bills won. Of course, the Ravens won. And they won in ways where they could have lost. So we're always, of course, racing those top teams to get that very, very limited one seed with the bye. I think this year with our injuries and just, fighting the odds of one playoff loss in 3 years, we are going to really need that bye to start the year. And so this race is going to be nip and tuck all the way to the end, especially with the Texans, the Bills, and the Ravens. So starting out, that Ravens-Washington Commanders game, that was by far the top game in my opinion, especially in the early window, but just kind of shows you kind of the new age of the quarterback. I mean, you have these two quarterbacks that are both dual threats, and of course, I think Jaden's a little bit more accurate than Lamar, but they can both throw the ball pretty well as well, and they have some nice weapons to throw to. A very interesting game. Started out with an interception off the bat by Lamar, and then the Commanders just got 3 points off of that after a nice drive. And then it was kind of back and forth, and the Ravens kind of showed their pedigree to a degree. And, of course, you have Derrick Henry is kind of the difference in that game, in my opinion. Zay Flowers is on my fantasy team, didn't do enough for me, but he had a hell of a game. Best half of his career. I think I set a record for receptions and a half as a wide receiver for the Ravens at 9, something crazy like that. He had over 100 yards in the first half. Really a spectacular performance by him, in addition to Derrick Henry. So that didn't go the way that we us Chiefs fans would have wanted it to go, but still a great entertainment. And the Ravens have moved to 4-2. They haven't lost in 5 weeks. It's not something that we want to see. They've beaten the Cowboys, the Bills, now Washington, and some other team, the Bengals, consecutively, and they're finding their stride. Their schedule does not get any easier. They can still find some more losses, and we have the tiebreaker on them, so it's not a huge issue right now. But we would have loved to see them fall to 0-4 or something crazy and miss the playoffs. But that was a hell of a game. Both those two quarterbacks are fantastic, and looking forward to seeing Jaden continue his fantastic rookie season. The next, of course, game that jumped out to me was the Cowboys-Lions game. I told you guys in the first episode, please check my call on that the Lions are going to boat race these guys. Many talking heads were saying the same thing. The Lions are my Super Bowl entry from the NFC pick. We're going to talk about their division here shortly on the channel here later in this episode, because their division is spectacular, and so they kind of have an uphill climb with that. But they have a complete team. I mean, their defense has some holes, in their secondary maybe, but of course they did lose Aiden Hutchinson. That was a big loss. He's at least out for the year. I mean, that was a horrible injury. I feel terrible for that guy. Nothing but good things to say about him. Class act from Michigan, I believe. He broke his leg, so he's going to be out. They're going to be looking maybe for a pass rusher at the trade deadline, but the Lions rolled them. I mean, their offensive line, made the Cowboys look like a JV team. Parsons was out. They had somebody else out. That's pretty good on that defensive line, and man, they ran all over him. David Montgomery, 2 touchdowns. One of my fantasy leagues cashed in pretty hard on that. And point being is we called that 3. I mean, hopefully you guys heard that, and whether it's for me or somebody else, and you got your money in the right spot there. because laying 3.5 points was printing money. I mean, I would have bet my house if my wife would have let me. So congratulations to the Lions. A heck of a win. We hate the Dallas Cowboys, of course, because they get covered for no reason, and they got what they deserve. They have now lost 4 games in a row at home when they had gone like 2 seasons prior to that without a loss in their home stadium. So definitely they're just desserts there. You pay Dak Prescott $60 million and Parsons is hurt. You have no chance. So that's how that game went. And there were a couple other games. The Bengals game was boring. They could have lost. Pittsburgh beating the Raiders. That was fun. And of course, the Chiefs had their bye. So, no loss for the Chiefs. We're gearing up for the Niners. So, before we talk about that Niners game, of course, that is my opinion, the marquee matchup, of course, in that afternoon window. We are going to discuss that game in detail here momentarily, but we have to talk about kind of the breaking news in the NFL. I'm going to go off on a monologue and spiel about that here soon. But of course, the breaking news is the trades that are happening in the AFC. There are teams that are out of it, and there are teams that are leading the race, and there are teams that are trying to stay in the race. And those teams include the Jets and the Bills, the 2 teams that just played, I believe it was last night, Monday Night Football. Great game. A lot of penalties, and it was ugly, but it was a closely contested game. Could have gone either way. Exciting. Sacks, penalties, pass interferences, missed kicks. I think there's 4 missed kicks in the game. That's a rarity in today's NFL. A swirling wind, I guess, out there in New Jersey. But and 2 bottom kind of basement dweller kickers, Zerline and Bass. They should not be on your fantasy team. We'll put it that way. But point being is that very entertaining game, and both teams made a trade. Obviously, the Jets were eked out. Wish the Jets would have won just because I hate the Bills, and really the only of the 2 teams I'm only scared of the Bills simply due to Josh Allen. We all saw what he did in the 13-second game. He's a fantastic talent, and I think of the 2 teams, if they were to meet the Chiefs in the playoffs, which of course we're always looking from a Chiefs perspective when we watch these games and what would benefit them the most as a result, we want the Bills missing the playoffs, so it would be a great thing. Now that's not going to happen, of course. They've won that division forever in a row, similar to the Chiefs. And nobody else in that division can get their stuff together, similarly to when Tom Brady was running the show over there. So that division's just been a front-runner, top-heavy division for years and years. Was hoping that there'd be a closer race between them and the Jets, kind of make them sweat a little bit, and maybe Bills grab a 7th loss somewhere down the road and miss the playoffs. That'd be great. But yeah, Josh Allen, Lamar, and maybe C.J. Stroud are the 3 quarterbacks that can maybe go toe-to-toe with Mahomes and not have that be too big of a gap where they can maybe win the game elsewhere. And so we were rooting for the Bills to take the L. Jets just had them. They had the second they hit that Hail Mary at the end of the half. I thought it was kind of going to be destiny that they were going to win it. They're at home. They had the momentum. The Bills' Bills' offense was kind of sputtering at the end of the half there. In the second half, they only scored 6 points and somehow eked out a victory. Like I said, Zerline missed 2 kicks, and the brutal part was the Jets were at I think it was tie game, 20-20, fourth quarter. Jets were at the 1-yard line. Okay, they punch it in to go up 27-20, but there's a holding penalty on a 1-yard run. I don't know how that's possible. Just bring in the fullback and nosedive in there. If you're the Eagles, you just do the tush push and call it a day. You can't do that with Rodgers, of course. So just bring in the 3rd tight end, take a stab and push him in. Instead, they hand it off to the tailback and play 10 on 11. They get the holding penalty, and then to take the cake there, Greg Zuerlein misses a field goal that I would have a chance to make. So that lost them the game. They ended up losing on a field goal later, and once again, Aaron Rodgers can't do a 2-minute drill, and actually lost that twice. He had a fumble on one of the plays on that 2-minute drill. They got lucky on the call, got tuck rule kind of BS call, and then he 3rd and long, he threw an interception a few plays later, and then Josh Allen converted on 1 3rd down after that and called it a day. So Jets go 2-4, and the Bills go to 4-2, but the news there is not the result. It's the wide receivers that each team picked up, and these were both. Well, one of them, both of them would have been nice to have for the Chiefs. Obviously, it's no secret that the Chiefs are in the market for a wide receiver. long list of receivers that I think that are on bad teams that could be a possibility for the Chiefs to grab. Adams was really never on the list realistically. His contract is too big. He's in division. I don't think he was ever going to go to the Chiefs as a realistic option. It would have been nice. You'd have to move around the salary cap. He has a big cap hit, and it would have been something that would kind of be a pipe dream. However, Amari Cooper was definitely somebody that could have been on the list. I think of all the receivers that are a possibility to trade for, he has the best cap hit, best mathematics on his contract. I think he's maybe being paid by somebody else or at the end of his contract or something going on where he cannot. It's not a very expensive deal at all. I think one of the talking heads on ESPN had mentioned that this Amari Cooper deal was a heist, by the Bills to get him, and I wish the Chiefs would have heisted him. So. Those two receivers have been moved and obviously are off the trade market. It's going to make both those teams better. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that the Bills need a receiver that, isn't Keon Coleman and, Hoggins or the guy with the long hair he's no good. And MVS has got like 3 catches all year and they don't know how to use him. And you have Shakir, but he's coming off an injury. I didn't see him too much. And so these got a bunch of just bits and pieces, and Cooper is going to be a big boost for them. He hasn't had a huge year. He's only got a couple hundred yards in 5 or so games, but of course, he has literally the worst quarterback in the history of the planet throwing him the football with the worst contract attached to it. His head is probably not in the game. And so it's going to be a totally different world and a totally different Amari Cooper. When he plays for the Buffalo Bills the rest of the season. So obviously we play the Bills here in a month. I say we, obviously the Chiefs. And so it'll be interesting to see how their wide receiver core is put together when that game comes around. So sucks to see a possible target that the Chiefs would need go to pretty much a rival and a team that's potentially in the way, a team we could potentially see in January. But that's kind of going to shift me into the next topic before we get to the Chiefs-Niners preview, which is, I believe it's official now that the entire AFC and potentially the league is ganging up on the Chiefs. Last year we should have lost it. We should, according to everybody else, because we didn't have the receivers. And then we made the moves, and the draft picks, and the Hollywood Brown pickup, and the Rashee Rice emergence. And everybody's like, "Oh no, they got the receivers again!" And we're going to be seeing the Tyreek Hill and the McCole Hardmans and the Sammy Watkins days from years past. And everybody was kind of worried. And then, of course, we had our series of injuries: Pacheco, Rice, Hollywood Brown. Now are all out. And so I think they want to keep a sleeping dog alive is what the AFC is doing. I don't know this for a fact, but my assumption is that Brett Veach is going to have a difficult time getting a trade done with an AFC team. I think the two biggest candidates were obviously the Browns as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both teams are 1-5. They are going nowhere. Their seasons are over. Of the two teams, the Jacksonville is the higher probability of reeling a few wins off and maybe getting back into it. But their division's hard to win. I mean, it's Houston's going to post up double-digit wins this year. They're not going to win that division, but maybe the 7th seed is a snowball's chance to get done. So I think maybe might have a chance to trade with Jacksonville, but and we do have some ties to Doug Peterson. I don't believe their owner is super anti-Chiefs, but they do have a couple pieces that I would be interested in. Obviously, Christian Kirk being the number one option. He fills in that slot receiver. He's a great possession receiver. He does great routes. He has good hands. I feel like he would fit in nicely. He's not super big, but he's not super fast, but he's got more size to him, I believe, than Hollywood Brown and even maybe Tyreek Hill did. Not bulk, but just overall catch radius and stuff like that. So he's a decent sized body that could go grab you 8 yards when you need it. But I think Christian Kirk is potentially an option. They're 1-5. They're done. And the player I really want, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know what his contract situation is. But no, the team he's on is not doing well. Also an AFC player, and that's Calvin Ridley for the Tennessee Titans. I think that's going to be that would be a big one. I mean, you have Calvin Ridley and Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster. You can score some touchdowns with those guys. Obviously, Travis Kelce and Fortson and Gray, and we have a great tight end set up. And, obviously Pacheco and Hunt can both catch the ball out of the backfield. You'll have some people to throw the ball to. Ridley's of all the people we've talked about, probably the fastest and most athletic. Cooper might be overall best specimen, but overall speed, Calvin Ridley is a burner. He can beat you over the top as well as a possession guy. And people picked him up in fantasy. I mean, he made starting rosters a couple of weeks to start the year. Obviously, he's definitely been downgraded to the bench since then, fantasy wise. Will Levis is a disaster, and that whole team is not going the right way. But point being is that Calvin Ridley is the number one player on my list as of right now, as who would be an option for the Chiefs to go pick up in a trade. A conditional third round pick, fourth round pick, third pick, and some money or something like that. But I don't know. Like I said, don't know what his contract situation is, how big of a cap hit it would be, but of course, these things can be worked around with signing bonuses and deferred money and deferred payments and things of that nature. So hopefully Calvin Ridley is still a possibility for the Chiefs, but that goes back to my original point. I mean, I don't know if we're getting blackballed, if Brett Veach is calling phones and these phones are just ringing and nobody's picking up, or maybe the Chiefs are full of themselves and they think, hey, we can beat it with Joe Schmo. We beat people with Joe Schmoes on the street. Juju Smith-Schuster and Xavier Worthy and Hardman are enough to get it done with the defense that we have. So maybe they do end up staying pat. We do have time. I mean, everybody wants it to happen. I believe it's like November 9th or something like that. So we still have almost a full month until we can get till the trade deadline. And so hopefully we can figure something out before then. More time goes by, the more those first two trades signal me that it's going to be maybe harder than we really want it to be to get a trade done. So we will see. We keep an eye on that trade deadline. I believe it's November 9th, the second week in November. So we got some time. So sit tight on it. I'm sure our Chiefs are doing everything they can, but it could be everybody versus us. It already is, but they might, our trade requests might be falling on deaf ears. So we'll see if we can get that taken care of. So long story short is, fingers crossed that we can still find somebody, but Amari Cooper was high on the list. He is now gone. Devontae Adams was going to go to a contender. Originally, we thought maybe the Saints. Derek Carr's hurt. They're not doing well. Their division is going to be a little more difficult than people thought. So, he ended up going to the Jets. They're a 2-4 team. They got a tough Pittsburgh team coming up. It could slip to 2-5. It might not matter that Devontae Adams goes to the Jets. If they lose this next game, obviously he'll play. But, who knows how many snaps. I'm not sure you got the playbook down. But Pittsburgh's defense got defense, and Pittsburgh can win that game. If they do, the Jets slip to 2-5, and it might not matter. They're 3 losses away from elimination at that point. You're not going to get in at 8, and it's at 9-8 probably. So hopefully they can lose to Pittsburgh, and we don't run into Devontae Adams in round 2 of the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball. That's not what the Chiefs want. So shifting gears now, let's talk about the Niners game. The Chiefs-Niners, I think it's definitely the marquee game of the week. It's going to be obviously a rematch of the last Super Bowl, and then of course 4 Super Bowls prior to that. Chiefs winning both games. Chiefs winning by 3 and by 6, I believe. Well, no, 11 because we ran away with it at the end there. But by 3 and 11, let's kind of touch base really quickly on the last time these two teams met in the Super Bowl 58. Might have been the craziest game I have ever watched in my life. The last time these two teams played, very evenly matched. Both have fantastic defenses. Chiefs are more quarterback heavy, whereas the 49ers are more weapons heavy, kind of two different engines that drive it. I'm not a huge Brock Purdy guy. I think he was drafted where he was drafted for a reason. You put Brock Purdy on the Carolina Panthers, or let's say the Cincinnati Bengals, where Joe Burrow got put. Nobody knows who Brock Purdy is. I'm sorry. You have the greatest running back pretty much ever with the greatest running zone scheme in history to help you out. And you have, of course, Ayuk, Debo Samuel, George Kittle. I think it's Greg Jennings, something Jennings. Jennings is number 15 for them, the wide receiver. He's been absolutely fantastic this year. I mean, he's been all over the place. He's taken a couple steps up the last couple of years. They got players all over the place. Their offensive line is fantastic. Their defense is fantastic. And then Brock Purdy gets all this clout and all this credit when he's just floating little peppers out there. I mean, he's relatively accurate. He reminds me of Tua. He reminds me of a healthy Tua that can throw an intermediate pass relatively accurately, but doesn't have any crazy zip. He's not going to beat you super deep with his arm without really putting a lot of air underneath it. He's just reaping the benefits of an amazing team. Now, of course, I think this is San Francisco's last chance to get that Super Bowl. Similar to the Dak Prescott conversation, the second you give this guy $60 million, it's over. I mean, they signed Brandon Ayuk to a contract. Guess what that means? Debo Samuel is not going to be on the team next year. This is the last year Debo Samuel is going to be on the team. It is a business. After all, he is, to a degree like Tyreek and like our cornerback from last year, L'Jarius Sneed. He's going to want the bag. He's going to want his $30 million, his $25 million every year, whatever it ends up, whatever that number is for the market. And 49ers can't pay him and Brock Purdy. They just can't do it. And so they're going to have to pick between the two. Really, it was picking between the two receivers. They picked the wrong one, in my opinion. Brandon Ayuk has not been good this year. He skipped training camp. He is not up to speed. I was going up against him in fantasy last week. I know exactly what his numbers were. He scored 5 points. I lost in fantasy because the rest of that guy's team went bananas, but he scored 5 points, 2 catches, 30 yards. He doesn't look the same as he did last year. All this chirping, 1,300 yards last year, throwing me the ball in the Super Bowl. He skips training camp, and he's been a ghost. Now, I say this, and he'll have a great game against the Chiefs, but usually teams don't throw the ball like crazy on the Chiefs, and receivers don't go nuts either. Point being is they chose the wrong one. You line up Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel together, and you pick Debo Samuel every day of the week. He's kind of got the Derrick Henry effect. He's just kind of one of those unicorns. He's just built differently. He does get hurt a lot because they hand him the ball as a running back too, but a lot of quick screens to Debo. But his tackle breaking ability, his breakaway speed, he's got hands. He can bounce off a DN, and he can bounce. He can run around a safety. Very hard to bring down. Not quite as good of a route runner as Ayuk, and maybe not quite as valuable that way in form of a possession receiver. But as a game changer, as a game wrecker, as someone that you have to scheme for when it comes to jet sweeps and being handed off and going along and doing all the things that Debo does, I would have chosen Debo over Brandon Ayuk. I think that's going to be how it shapes up for that team after this year. We will see how it all shakes up. Maybe they keep them both and they just take a bunch of L's on defense. But if you pay Brock Purdy $60 million, you're going to have to shed some weight elsewhere. Just like the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill and some players on offense. Sammy Watkins, that kind of thing. Once Mahomes got his deal, and it's a salary cap league. We're going to talk about baseball here later where it's not that way, but you can only pay. There's only so many dollars to go around, and this is the last hurrah, in my opinion, for the Niners. I don't think McCaffrey ever gets back the same. He's got tendonitis in both of his legs. He is not going to be playing for this game. Let's say McCaffrey ends up, having 1 or 2 more years and he's done, and Ayuk hangs around and Debo is gone. Kittle's getting older. You're gonna have ghost to Debo and Brock Purdy here in 2 years. So I am not high on the Niners past this year at all. But let's talk about this particular game here on Sunday. So this game on Sunday is not only a revenge game, but I believe it opens up the possibility for the Chiefs to think about going undefeated. It probably won't happen, very rare. Obviously, it only happened the one time. The 72 Dolphins, it was a 14-game season, yada, yada, yada. There's 3 games left on the schedule that we might not be favored in. This was the first one. 49ers are favored by a 1.5. We're going to talk about some lines and some game picks down the road. Chiefs might make that list, just a wink there. But the 49ers should not be favored in this game. They are 3-3. They've lost to the Rams, who have nobody. Their whole team is injured. They have lost to the Cardinals, who just got boat raced by the Packers, and they lost to somebody else. They're 3-3, and the Chiefs are 5-0, and they have a better quarterback. They have, outside of left tackle, they have a better offensive line, and who knows what that Mason kid's doing with his shoulder. He busted up his shoulder pretty good last week, and so with Kareem Hunt, we might have the better running back. Tight ends are a wash, and they might have a couple better receivers. But point being is that their defense, in my opinion, is getting older, and our defense is better than their defense. Just that's where we're at. So if I got the Chiefs, obviously, in this game, and if we can squeak this one out, we got basically 2 more games that we won't be more than like a 4-point favorite. And that is the Buffalo Bills, who just, of course, added Amari Cooper, so we'll see what they look like here down the road, and the Houston Texans. I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe both of those games are at Arrowhead Stadium. Okay? So those are the two games the rest of the way that we could lose, that we might be favored to be like just within 3 or 4 points. We got 5 more divisional games. We have the Chargers once. We got the Raiders twice. We got the Broncos twice. We'll be favored by 5+ in all those games. And then we got I think the rest of the NFC South. So there's. What is the NFC South? We got the Carolina Panthers. This is the game. If we can win this game, it is possible that your 2 top receivers go down in Brown and Rice, and you still go 17-0. So I'll say all that, and then we'll get killed by the 49ers, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be a close game. These 2 teams have a lot of history. Both teams are prideful. Both teams are well coached. Obviously, the 49ers are at home, but Patrick Mahomes plays better on the road. I don't think he's ever lost to the 49ers. He's like 5-0, and both teams are familiar with each other. So it'll be a close game, field goal, touchdown game at most. But I think the Chiefs come out on top. And if you're going to bet on the Chiefs and get points, that's a pretty good deal. So that's my take on the Chiefs Niners. I like it. We'll go 26-20 Chiefs. I'll say we score a late touchdown, and we hold them off on their final drive, up by 6, and stop them on a 4th and 4, on the midfield stripe, and get the win. So that's my prediction for Chiefs Niners. I don't think a 3-3 team can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You are what your record says you are. If the Rams can beat them, if the Cardinals can beat them, I think the Chiefs will beat them. Our offensive line, Kareem Hunt, Patrick Mahomes make enough plays, and our defense will shut down Brock Purdy just enough to make it happen. So that is my prediction for the Chiefs game. Moving on to other games, we're going to, for just a quick moment, we're going to talk about the NFC North Division. The NFC North Division is going to be a spectacle this year. All 4 of those teams could make the playoffs. I mean, the Lions are my pick to win the NFC and get to the Super Bowl, and they don't have the best record in the division. The Vikings are 5-0. Their defense is flying around. They're blitzing like crazy. I think it's Flores as the defensive coordinator there. He's doing a fantastic job in Minnesota. The Bears, obviously they're playing a terrible Jacksonville defense, across the pond, yada, yada, yada. It was basically a pseudo home game for them. It was basically all Bears fans there. But the kid had 4, almost 5 touchdown passes, and I think over 380 yards or something like that. He had a hell of a game. They're coming around. Their defense and special teams have been fabulous all year, and they're getting healthy on their wide receiver core. Keenan Allen had a showing. Roma Dunze is back. Of course, you've had DJ Moore this entire time. And it looked like he just had a little bit more time to throw. He was being kind of chased around, and the offensive line was getting whooped the first couple games of this year for the Bears. And with Jacksonville's defense not being that great, their offensive line held up a lot better. And you give that kid time, he's going to make some plays. He had a rollout play where Cole Kmet skips out after blocking, and he's jumping out of bounds, kind of a Mahomesian play. The nail polish and all, like the kid can play. And if you give him some time, he's going to make some throws. And he's got some people to throw it to. I mean, imagine if Mahomes had Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and these boys that he's throwing, Roma Dunze he's throwing to. So I like them. They're a great team. And to wrap up that division is the Packers. The Packers are 4-2. Malik Willis, he came in after that injury and he won 2 games, kept them afloat, kept their team in it, and they embarrassed the Cardinals. Jordan Love, I drafted him in fantasy, I traded him away after the injury, and of course he comes back and lights the world on fire, and he's rolling right now. They have a lot of young wide receiver, Watson and Dobbs. They got another guy out there that I can't quite pick the name of right now, but they have a really good core, and then of course they got a bruiser. They got a bruiser, and Jacobs. That was one of the bigger trades of the off season, going from the Raiders to the Packers. What a pedigree change in when it comes to just the way these teams are built and the way their front offices are run for Josh Jacobs. And he's a hell of a player. He's a top 10 back in the league. Easy. Watching him run is something else. He's bouncing off people and he's pushing people over, and I think he had at least a touchdown, at least 100 yards. I think he had a hell of a game. He's going to have a hell of a season barring health. That NFC North division is I don't know if I've ever seen a better division in my life. I mean, theoretically, with the new expansion of the playoffs, all 4 of those teams could make the playoffs. So you have the Vikings. The Vikings, they let's say they keep their run going and they win. I mean, the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears should easily be your 3 wild card teams. I mean, one team in the NFC East is any good is maybe the Eagles. I say or the Washington Commanders. I say the Washington Commanders keep their run going, and let's say they win the division. I think the Eagles are a complete question mark. They could fall to 9-8, 10-7, and not win on a tiebreaker against the Bears or something like that. And then in the NFC South, I think the Falcons are going to end up running away with that division. And then the NFC West, you're going to have either the Niners. I think the Niners will end up winning that division. A weird division. They're going to be like 11-6 and win that division, similar like the Chiefs last year. It's not going to be that good of a division. Cardinals are kind of streaky. Geno Smith and the Seahawks are no good. I mean, he's just not good. I mean, I hate to say it, and this resurgence in Seattle, and we love the Pacific Northwest, of course, on this channel, but I watched that game, and they had their bye week this week, but last week, and he's not very good. Okay, he's not going to get you anywhere. Their defense is not good. They gave up 40 to the Lions, and they gave up a bunch of points the next game too. So I think it's very possible that all 4 teams from the NFC North will get in. They're all quality. They're all quarterbacked well, and they all play a decent amount of defense. I think the Lions probably have the worst defense of the group now, simply due to the fact that Aiden Hutchinson kid, I feel so bad for him, that he broke his leg. He's their best defensive player. It's not even close. And outside of him, they don't have too many stars that and household names. So we'll see. We'll see how they do defensively. But point being is that all 4 of those teams could, in my opinion, make the playoffs. Jared Goff did come out and say, the division's great, but we haven't played many divisional games yet. And of course, what that means is that they, they're not beating up on each other yet. They're just beating up on everybody else. So we'll keep an eye on that as the season goes. The NFC North is going to be a fun battle. My heart tells me my heart wants the Vikings to win. I've always kind of They reminded me of the old Chiefs pre-Mahomes, competitive but never got over the hump kind of thing. They never won a Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl too, and so I've kind of always rooted for them. They, smaller market team, of course. We're going to root for those teams, and they remind me of the Chiefs pre-Mahomes. So I'm kind of rooting for them, but I still think the Lions, with their offensive weaponry and their offensive line, can still win that division and host that playoff game. They won't get the 1 seed, I don't believe, simply because their schedule's going to be tough. And so we'll see who gets the 1 seed out of there. But they could. It's going to be between them maybe and the Vikings, but we'll just take it week by week. But I think the Lions can win that division and get a home playoff game to start their run. So let's shift gears to fantasy. We are going to talk about fantasy on this show. Kind of my tidbits and kind of how I'm doing this year is very, very much hit and miss. There are some players that I want to talk about that were doing great and have fallen off, and there's some players that just never got going. And the players that started out great and kind of fell off are, let's talk about Justin Jefferson for just a hot minute. Justin Jefferson is one of my favorite wide receivers to play in the league. He's absolutely breathtaking to watch, fabulous talent. But man, they spread the ball around. They got Jordan Addison up there. Aaron Jones is playing very well at the running back position. They're spreading it out. Their tight end is doing well. They had that guy O'Hare, something like that. He's playing well. And so people are just locking Jefferson down and begging other people to beat him. And I got Justin Jefferson at pick 11. And I thought, hey, man, I'm going to be scoring 30 points with my number one guy at pick 11. And it ended up having, it hasn't been that way. I think he's just got maybe 2 touchdowns this year, and his yardage totals have been far down compared to other years. They're just not hyper targeting him anymore. And so that has hurt me. And so I have 2 leagues going. One league is worth 3 times the money than the other league is. I am 1-5 in the big money league, and I am 5-1 in the small money league. So it's been a complete reversal. The way I'm winning in the other league is just the Ravens. I have the kicker, I got the quarterback, and I got the running back. They're just doing fantastic. Whereas in this other league, I have no quarterback play. I traded away Jordan Love, and I traded away Caleb Williams, and I picked up Patrick Mahomes right before the Rashee Rice incident happened. So it didn't go my way. And so I'm going to keep fighting. But it definitely seems like that league is toast. And so we're gonna ride. I have David Montgomery, I have Derrick Henry, I have Lamar Jackson, I got Godwin, who had a hell of a game. I got somebody else that's really good, talented wide receiver, and then there's some players there that I can win with in the lesser league. So we're kind of sellers. I got people texting me and stuff about, hey, trade this, trade that, your season's over, can we do this, can we do that? And it's kind of demoralizing in the big league. But in the small league, we're doing okay, and we're going to keep it rolling, and hopefully I can rattle some wins off in a row in the main league. I am 3rd in points scored, and I am 1st in points given up. It just has not been my year in the main league. So we got about 20 minutes left in the show here. We are going to talk about some lines and kind of my Kyle's picks. I got, just like Nick Wright does on FS1, he picks 3 games every week that stand out to him that are big money making wins. Of course, you're always going to pick an odd number, whether that's 1, 3, or 5, or if you're a degenerate 7. But the reason is you just want to win 4 out of your 7, 3 out of your 5, and 2 out of your 3. So we're going to try to win 2 out of 3 every week on this show, and we're going to talk about lines that are interesting. We're going to talk about the teams that are on those lines, and so we'll kind of jump right into that. So the easiest pick, I'm going to put more money on this game than probably the other games, is Indianapolis. I believe they are hosting. Let's triple check. I believe they're hosting, let's see. I believe they're hosting the Miami Dolphins. We're going to triple check that right now. Triple checking. Yes, they are hosting the Miami Dolphins, and they're only laying 3.5 points at home to the Miami Dolphins. Tua is not coming back yet. They're going to put Skylar Thompson out there, or that other guy they got off from the Ravens, who was terrible against the Titans, and the Colts are going to destroy them. This is bet the house type of game. They're going to beat them by 40 points. I mean, the Miami Dolphins are the worst team in the NFL, in my opinion. They are worse than the Panthers. I mean, the Red Rocket out there in Carolina is Andy Dalton's throwing the ball really well. Their defense is terrible, but they're scoring points at least. Whereas the Dolphins are just an absolute dumpster fire. 3.5 points, you're printing money there. So, I mean, we got to pick the Colts at home, only giving up 3.5 points to Miami. That has to hit. Absolutely has to hit. And this next one is a little bit maybe surprising. I have the Bucks, who are playing the Baltimore Ravens. I have them plus 3.5. I believe they are on the road in Baltimore. Let's triple check. No, even better. Yeah, they are home dogs to the Baltimore Ravens. The Buccaneers just got done dropping 51 points. Okay, so I don't care who you're putting that on. That's pretty damn good offense. And they're getting 3.5 points. They can lose by a field goal and you're making money. They're at home. The Bucks. The one weakness on the Ravens team is in their defensive secondary, and that's the strength of the Bucks. I have the Bucks covering that spread of 3.5. Sorry, not the Ravens not covering that spread of 3.5, and the Bucks. I think the Bucks could win that game outright. The Ravens could kick a game-winning field goal, and you're still cashing. So. Watch out, that Ravens secondary is beatable. Jaden Daniels, yes, he's been good. He is still a rookie, and he put up 20 on him. Could have been more. And I really like what Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, and Godwin are doing in Tampa Bay. And so I got the Bucks plus 3.5. I think that's definitely going to hit. And then our final one is another team that's beating up on bottom feeders. I think this line should have been what the Indy line was, so I'm not quite as confident on it, but I'm still going to go with it. It's the Bengals, minus 6.5 points. Let's see where that game is being played. I believe it's at Browns. Divisional game. Those games are weird, but the Bengals, they kept their season alive last week. They got through a scrappy Giants team that played decent defense. I don't think the Bengals can be held in check offensively back-to-back weeks. The Browns just got rid of Amari Cooper. We already talked about Deshaun Watson and how terrible he's doing. I think the Bengals win by this game by a touchdown. You're laying 6.5 points. Beat them 31-24, call it a day. I mean, I don't know if the Browns can keep up with their offense. Chase and Higgins and those boys, they're gonna come out of that little weird game that they had on Sunday night, and they're gonna beat the Browns by 7. So those are the 3 picks that I have. I feel really good about them. First 3 picks on the channel here. Indy over Miami by laying 3.5. Bucks over Ravens, getting 3.5, and then Bengals over the lowly Browns, laying 6.5. I don't see anything. I could go 3 for 3. 3 for 3 very easily, and we'll keep it rolling that way. We'll obviously give you an update next Tuesday on how I did with those 3 picks. So we'll keep track of those. We'll keep track the rest of the season, and let's see if we can make a couple dollars betting lines. I've always been better at betting lines. I've been at betting parlays, kind of understand the full team and what's going on with the teams and what's going on with the coaching staffs and the vibes and what happened last week and injuries. All that kind of stuff is more plausible and more something I can wrap around in my head, whereas, whether or not Travis Kelce is going to get 65 yards or not, I don't know. So we're going to be betting lines for the most part here and maybe a couple Chiefs parlays. So let's shift gears off of football. Spent 42.5 minutes talking about football. Going to be a great week. Chiefs 49ers, and then you have the Ravens and the Bucks. I think that headlines the week. Then you have a Monday night doubleheader, which is really cool. Ravens Bucks, and then Chargers Cardinals is a who cares bowl. But at least the Ravens game will be on Monday night. That'll be a fun game for us to watch. Texans Packers. That's a good game. We're obviously rooting for the Packers in that game. We're obviously racing the Texans for the 1 seed. So that should be a good game at Lambeau Field. Bills-Titans is a snooze fest. Bills will win that game easily. They're laying a bunch of points. It's almost too many points to bet on. And then the Who Cares Bowl over in London, mate, is the 1-3 Patriots and the 1-5 Patriots, 1-5 Jacksonville. Will not be waking up early to watch that game. So about 3 or 4 marquee games, and the rest of them are kind of snoozers. But it'll still be fun because, of course, the Chiefs have their Super Bowl rematch. So, like I said, about 15 more minutes left on the channel. It goes by fast, man. Let's talk about what's going on in the MLB. It's been not what we have wanted, of course. It is two New York teams and two New York teams, an LA team, and a team from Cleveland who last time I checked was getting beat up pretty bad by the New York Yankees. Honestly, it's making the Royals look a little bit better that the Yankees are beating up on the Cleveland, because we gave the Yankees all they wanted. Yeah, they beat us in 4 games, but those 3 wins they had were very, very close, and they've, the Yankees are beat Cleveland by 3 in the first game. They're up by 3 early again here in game 2, and so it's making the Royals look a little bit better than the Guardians did. So we gave them a little bit better of a series, which is cool. So, worst case scenario for little Midwest fans like us would be watch the Subway Series in the World Series. So I would rather the Dodgers make it out of that and play the Yankees. It's looking like pretty solidly that the Yankees are going to go to the World Series. Cleveland, I don't know. They kind of had a weird run. They weren't predicted to win the division. Their starting rotation is not that good. It's their bullpen that shines the most. They're top heavy in their order. Their first couple guys are Kwan and Ramirez and Naylor. Those are really the guys they got. And the rest of their lineup is just kind of who cares. So it's looking like it's going to be Yankees versus either the Mets or the Dodgers. I'd hate for it to be the Subway Series. So I guess we're for the Dodgers. I don't know. The Dodgers, obviously, I think they have a bigger payroll than the Yankees. It's pretty close. That being said, the Dodgers have made the playoffs a bunch, and they've only won the World Series once in the last decade plus. So it's not like they've been dominant. Neither have the Yankees. The Yankees haven't won since 2009. I get that, but the Yankees still have the 27 championships. They don't need another one. The Ohtani thing is kind of a cool story. He's fun to watch, but it is a bummer. I mean, it just shows you straight up that you're still buying championships in 2024 in baseball. The Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers are probably the top 3 payrolls in baseball. And they're still swinging. So that it's just kind of what it is. At least in the NBA, there's a luxury tax, and the owner's got to really pay for it. In baseball, it's whatever you want to do. With Ohtani, they defer. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're robbing Peter to win championships right now with that contract. They're paying him like $2 million a year, and then the rest of it's going to be paid in 2040. I mean, you can do literally whatever you want, throw money at whatever you want, do whatever you want. It kind of reminds me of the NIL. The NIL stuff is taking over. We don't have the jersey on. We don't have any jersey on the back wall, but we're big KU Jayhawk fans here. So we are totally aware that these bigger programs, the Blue Bloods, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Kansases, the UConns, obviously in their prospective sports, that you can just buy players now. And college sports is basically turning into the MLB. Obviously Vanderbilt beat Alabama the other day. It is still possible for upsets to happen. They still got to hike the ball. The ball is shaped weird. Bounces happen. It is possible. But with the expanded playoff, I mean, Alabama could have 3 losses and still make the dang tournament. So we'll see how it all shakes up, but college sports is just turning into MLB baseball. You're just buying players. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, was great with OU last year in Oklahoma, and he just said, "Deuces, I'm good. I don't need to go anywhere." Oregon is offering; they have better receivers. They got an easier schedule, easier path to the playoffs. I don't have to get beat up by SEC players. I'm going to go to Oregon and win a bunch of games up there and do it that way. They just had a great win over Ohio State. We're all about that. Go Ducks for sure. But that's what college sports has turned into. It's just turned into baseball. Whoever's boosters, want to get wins the most are going to get them. So that's kind of where we're at with that with sports. Of course, that's not going to stop me from tuning in to watch pretty much every KU basketball game. It's just kind of what you do. It's in your blood, and you kind of hear no evil, see no evil about it, and pretend it was like the old days. They used to be student athletes. They used to be students first and athletes later, and they were okay, waiting till they were 23 to make their millions if they could get there. It was, now, Hunter Dickinson signed a $2 million contract to go to KU. I mean, he's a multimillionaire. These players that you're watching in college are multimillionaires, especially the skill position players in football. That's the big money sport. It just is what it is. It's a second level pro sport. It's no longer college athletics. It's just a secondary professional league. That's all it is. It's a secondary professional league that players can capitalize on their talents before they're 23 years old, and that's just what it is. And we have to live with it. It's the reality. There's a point behind NIL that I understand. If somebody was making a bunch of money off me and I wasn't getting, any monetary returns off of that, I would be upset. The argument from, a Midwesterner who, had to pay for his own college, these players were getting a bunch of stuff and, free travel, free coaching, free tutors, free education, free this, free that, exposure, blah, blah, blah. And it's just not enough. And who's to say it is or isn't? When people in the NCAA are making multi-millions of dollars and billions of dollars, and you get a free $50,000 tuition. Some people say that's not enough, and that's just where it's shifted to. And of course, these players were being paid well before NIL came out. It was just all under the rug. I mean, Bill Self has gotten in trouble for it. I mean, all kinds of coaches and recruiting violations have happened. I mean, Rick Pitino. I mean, it's just on and on and on. So it was just kind of being under the rug, and now it's above the rug, and it's something that we have to live with. And Allen Fieldhouse will be packed with or without the NIL. So it's just a reality, and I can level with it to a degree. So that's my tangent there on NIL. It just kind of is what it is, and they're making people money, so they got to make money too. And they are legal adults. I mean, it's not like they're 15 years old running around out there. So kind of wrap up the show here. Talk about what to expect the rest of the week. We are going to tune in, at least for the first half of the Thursday night game. We might try to have a guest on the show. We'll see. And it's going to be the Broncos versus the Saints. Kind of a snooze fest. Obviously, we're rooting for the Saints for obvious reasons. I think it's going to be Rattler again. Derek Carr hurt that oblique pretty bad. But, I mean, they scored some points last week on Tampa Bay, and I'm still not sold on Bo Nix and that offense. Their defense is hitting pretty hard, and the Broncos' defense has played well. But what's the line on that game? 2.5 points for Denver on the road. Getting 2.5 with a team at home that just scored 27 on the Bucs. I'd probably put my money on the Saints there. Get your 2.5 points. Broncos kick a game-winning field goal down by 2. Take your money. But I don't think the Broncos aren't going to score a bunch of points. The Saints are desperate. They're at home. Their defense is better than they've performed. I like the Saints there. We're going to watch the play-by-play. At least the first half. Thursday night games are weird. If it gets all wonky and somebody's up 20-0, we might call it early. But if it's a close game, we'll go down to the wire and see if my Saints hunch can win anybody some money. So last thing I'm going to talk about is we do have the NBA. NBA, I believe, starts a week from tomorrow. So the regular season. NBA off season is pretty much the shortest there is. It's like June to October. It's like 4 months. because the NBA playoffs, as they call it, the second season. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes. I haven't really been picking up too much on it. Obviously, I'm a big Bucks fan with Damian Lillard, and hopefully, the Bucks can get off to a good start. Klay Thompson and the Mavericks is kind of an interesting deal. It'll be interesting how the Warriors dynasty gets wrapped up. And whether or not Steph Curry can make one final run, because he's not playing anywhere else. So if he's going to make another run, he's going to have to do it there. And they're getting old. They're kind of like the 49ers, in my opinion, of the NBA, except they got the rings instead of the close calls. So we'll see how they do. But yeah, we'll keep a track on the Bucks. We'll kind of talk about next Tuesday. We'll talk about the Bucks, first month of the schedule. See what we can expect from them and what we hope can happen with the Milwaukee Bucks, and keep an eye out on some other teams too. Obviously, Sacramento Kings. We'll see what's going on with John Morant. I know he had a small injury. We'll see if he can get the ball rolling back with it and get his life straightened out. And then I have a buddy of mine who is a big Celtics fan. I might try to get him on the show and get it from a Boston guy's perspective, and then see how he thinks his team can get a back-to-back championship run. But last thing I'll say is we have the Chiefs-Niners game. Let's just kind of talk about that as we wrap up the show. We still got about 5 more minutes. Once again, this is one of the last 3 tests that remain on the schedule, in my opinion. This is a losable game. It's on the road. If you lose the game, no big deal. You still have 5 divisional games that we'll win. And we're still going to have a fine record. But if we win this game, it's going to set us up where the NFL is going to run out of chances to get us a loss, and they're going to run out of chances, and more importantly, to keep us out of the 1 seed. We go 6, 7, 8, no. We're going to get the 1 seed. We're going to be 2 victories away from the Super Bowl at home. And I think the only team that has a chance to come into Arrowhead and win would be the Baltimore Ravens. And I think we'll still edge them out. I think we'll find a weapon. We'll be able to beat them in a game where we can throw the ball around on them a little bit. Mahomes has still not had his best game of the year. He plays great on the road. He's been great against the 49ers. This could be his coming out party this year. He only has 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions this year. That's not going to cut it, but he's better than that. He's never had a 1-to-1 ratio in his entire career. That can only keep up so long. I'll go 275 passing yards from Mahomes. We'll say 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Kareem Hunt gets a rushing touchdown. Kick a couple field goals, maybe miss an extra point. 26-20 Chiefs. They get the final stop after going ahead on a touchdown drive, halfway through the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. Defense shuts the door on Brock Purdy and the Niners. Should have talked about this at the top of the show, but please like and subscribe to the channel. We are just getting started here on MWF Midwest Fanatic. We are going to try to get some guests on the next couple of days, have some conversations as we watch Thursday Night Football, and of course, Sunday afternoon football with the Kansas City Chiefs. We are going to try to have our first streaming game night here on Saturday. It might have to wait till next week. We'll see if we can get that pulled together. We might do that at the start of the Black Ops season here, the Black Ops release on October 25th. But stay tuned to all of that. We'll go ahead and call it a couple minutes early. I went a couple minutes over the last time. So from me to you, thanks so much for listening to episode number 2. We will be back Thursday evenings around 7 o'clock to preview the Broncos-Saints game. Talk about the weekend ahead and watch hopefully a divisional rival of the Chiefs go down in the Superdome against Spencer Radler, Alvin Kamara, and Chris Olave and the squad down there. So until next time, once again, this is Kyle the Fanatic Peterson signing off here on Midwest Fanatic, and we will see you Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Be cool. See you then. Bye-bye.